Hey everyone, welcome to our Asset Management Fridays segment of the Passive Income Through Multifamily Real Estate podcast. I'm your co-host Kyle Mitchell, also joined by Gary Lipsky. This segment is focused on educating operators, building better systems, and becoming a best-in-class operator. Since we're also live on Facebook right now, please be sure to type in any questions you have in the comments section below. Also, be sure to check out our Facebook group, Passive Income Through Multifamily Real Estate. All right, today on the show we have Mark Hentemann. Mark, how you doing?
Great. How about yourself?
Doing very well, thanks. Maybe we can start by telling the listeners a little bit more about yourself and what you currently do.
Sure. I am a real estate investor in Los Angeles. I've been investing for 20 years, ever since buying my first duplex with some script payments that I got starting on a new show called Family Guy. I've been a writer for a little longer than that 20 years and wrote for David Letterman and a number of shows, created a couple shows, and have been fortunate enough to get nominated for a few Emmys along the way. But early in my career, I was terrified of the financial insecurity of the entertainment business. So I pumped some my first payments once I got any kind of traction into real estate and immediately got hooked, and I've been doing it ever since and plan to do it until I'm 100.
Very cool way to get started. Well, let's jump in and talk about post-close. So, you buy an apartment building and then you just sit back and collect checks, right?
Sure.
Well, what does the first 30 to 60 days look like for you as an asset manager? Like, what are your checklists, your value add? Talk us through that.
So, I'll just very briefly back up, but for the first 10 years or 15 years of all my investing, I'm in Los Angeles. It's a very expensive market. So I, out of sheer necessity, gravitated towards the cheapest properties I could find. And I discovered that, investing in and upgrading these old properties that are like 1920s, 1930s vintage in prime or like inexpensive major markets has been a great strategy. And it's allowed me to continue to grow, and you're able to provide affordable alternatives to new construction. And a lot of, tech workers, millennials, anybody, hipsters, they like those as long as you buy them in the right location. So I look for that, and I look to buy it cheap. And after my inspecting, where I just try to eliminate major systems repairs, because basically I want to avoid value preservation, and I want to focus on value creation. And you create value creation by doing the cosmetic stuff as much as that the tenants can see and experience. So once I take over after close, what I do in the first 30 to 60 days or 30 to 90 days is really sit and watch. I monitor everything. I don't want to start spending or jump into a major project until I get to know the property a little bit and see where the flaws are, where the issues are. I don't want to halfway into a major project realizing that all the plumbing is problematic. So I like to sit and watch for the first 60 to 90 days. And then I'm also making my plan, which I've already done before closing, but I calibrate my plan.
Nice. Yeah. We always say that there's opportunities everywhere, and you don't have to follow one way to do things, and because there's many successful ways to skin a cat. So okay, so after you spent some time getting to know your property, 60, 90 days in, what are some of the biggest things that you like to do to add value?
I like to do exterior, and I usually start with curb appeal. I will rebrand it if I can. And Kyle, I know we met at a building of mine maybe 5 months ago or something, and you had a tour with you, and that was like it looked like a castle. It had a turret. It was in Los Angeles. It was 100-year-old property, and I thought it was really cool, but totally neglected. So I wanted to rebrand it. It was a nondescript building, and we branded it as Chateau Westmoreland. It was on Westmoreland Avenue in Los Angeles. And I painted, I fixed up the entry, and to kind of play into its historic character, its historic architecture. There was paint, and it wasn't really that expensive. And then I moved from there into the lobby. I believe in first impressions. So as soon as you walk into a property that has a big lobby, this one was completely nondescript, and I changed the flooring. It had been like replaced in the 80s with linoleum, and I restored it to like a black and white, kind of a historic 20s vintage tile. And then in my specific location in Los Angeles, I'm not from Los Angeles, I'm from Ohio. But, I wanted to take advantage of what Los Angeles has, and what it has is Hollywood. And so I have made a practice of, I have this collection of vintage black and white Hollywood photos. And often I put those up in the lobby and in the hallways, and just bring out that character. And I get so many comments from tenants that say that they love that, and it's pretty affordable.
Nice.
And then I move into, also there's you have your interior unit renovations and your common areas. And if you can, a great thing to do is if you find these old buildings, and shockingly, some of them are with just a very simple mom and pop owner for the last 25 years, you can add laundry. There's always space, it seems like, in the basement to install a laundry room. You want to create, conveniences for your tenants, anything to make their experience as a renter better.
And as an asset manager, how do you manage all these things? Do you have one tool you use, like software, or how do you manage all these things?
I have a management company that I've been with for about 15 years. And, I usually coordinate with them. I also have I have a personal asset manager who runs my portfolio. And then I have my project manager as well, who is independent of the management company, and he usually budgets. We discuss the scope of work that we'll do, and we'll go over budgets, and he'll make he'll make a list of things that he thinks should be done, and then we'll go line by line and pick them apart, look at what we can afford, and eliminate some things and maybe add other things.
So he's a project manager for all your projects. Is he managing the crews, or more? He's almost. I know you mentioned you had an asset manager, but how do the two roles separate?
How are they distinct? Well, I have had. So here's my asset manager I brought on because I am also continuing to write and produce television and movies, and I had grown my own portfolio to the point where I had about 400 units, and it was just a lot. And I needed someone to come on and just give me reports and monitor all the properties. So I wanted a portfolio manager, and he became my asset manager. And he's also a liaison between me and the property management company. And then separately, I have just been working with, I do value add on almost every property I buy, and I do that in addition to unit turns. And I was finding that I had enough volume of work to have someone full-time just always working on a project for me. And that became a guy named Art. And I like Art. We have a great relationship, and he's smart, and he has a crew. He has his own crew, and he will do, has the ability to do other jobs as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. As far as what else for post-close are key elements for your business plan that you always implement?
I think the key elements after I first start by going into the units, looking at kitchens and bathrooms, because I think that's what tenants pay attention to first. I also see if I can open up the unit in any way. I know back in the even 30 years ago, you had much more confined space, and there's been a trend to open things up. And I often find that we can open up walls and create more natural light. I look for, carpeting that's covering original hardwood flooring. And I think that's just a little treasure that you find when you do, and usually try to do that during inspections. Wi-Fi, upgrading the tech is huge. So I think when you take over a lot of these buildings, obviously tenants did not use nearly the technology that we do or rely upon today. So, my first thing is make sure that the Wi-Fi is strong, unlike the issues that we've had today, and make sure, it has enough electrical outlet and electrical capacity. And a couple times, in the last year, I've had to walk away from some buildings, some properties that I loved. One was in the Hollywood Hills, and it was like the perfect value add, but the electrical was designed for 1930s usage, and I couldn't get the seller to share the price of replacing it, and they thought it was fine. And I was like, it wasn't worth it.
Right. Yeah, Kyle and I run into that a lot with the electrical. But let me pass it to him to wrap it up.
All right, Mark, we ask every guest this final question. What is your asset management superpower?
I think my asset management superpower is, I think I have handicaps in areas of asset management, but my superpower is that I am an artist. Or I used to be, I was a writer illustrator for American Greetings greeting card company right out of college. And I have always had an eye for and have it very visually oriented. So I like to behold any kind of new building, these old buildings. I like to find the dumpiest building, and I just stare at it and keep going back to it day after day. And then I get like a vision of what I think it should be.
Awesome. I love that answer. Yeah, I love that answer. All right. Well, Mark, thanks for coming on and talking to us about post-close. Today, I learned a couple things. You like to sit back and really evaluate the property for 30 to 60 days to make sure you're going to spend the money on the right things. And then the biggest thing is just create value for the residents that live there, right? I mean, it's all about the residents. And if you create that value and focus on curb appeal and exterior stuff first, you can really get more bang for your buck. So if you can tell the listeners where they can find out more about you.
Sure. You can reach out to me at my email is markhentemann@me.com, or you could check out my website. I have a company called Quantum Capital, and the website is Quantum Capital Inc. And I also have a podcast called the Wild West Real Estate Show, which has been a fun little adventure. So check that out as well.
Awesome. Well, to everyone listening in, thanks for tuning in. And if you like this episode, please head over to iTunes or Stitcher. Give us a like, subscribe, and review so we can continue to grow this audience. And we'll talk to you next week. Hey, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. We really appreciate your support. If you're interested in learning more about APT Capital Group and speaking to someone on our team, click on the link and schedule a call with us. We're here to help, and we'd be excited to speak with you and get to know more about you and your goals. Talk to you soon.